Wednesday, February 28th, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. A very quick look at the market this morning is just before 9 a.m. Yesterday, interesting day, 10-year yields spiked back up from like 286 to 292. I think right now they're around 290. And gold was hit hard, the dollar rebounded, and the stock market dropped. So, interesting day. Right now, gold is at $13.17, down $1. Very narrow range this morning, $13.15 to $13.20. Silver, $16.37, down 4. Range has been $16.34 to $16.46. The Dow right now is up 75, or 1/3% at 25,470. S&P up 10, also 1/3%. Nasdaq up 17 points, 1/4%. Dollar versus the pound or sterling is down. Sterling is down 28 pips or 0.2%. Euro at 122.02, down 1/4%. So dollar continued to strengthen against those two. Dollar's down though against the yen. It's at 107.20, or down about 1/10%. But so that's the markets, and I want to look at something bigger that is really playing out behind the scenes in a country I don't really talk too much about, and many people don't talk about. And it's related to the dollar as a reserve currency, and the yuan's challenge to the dollar reserve status. I don't think personally it's a challenge, but the Americans are taking it as a challenge, especially the deep state. I don't think they want. They don't look at China or Russia as partners in trying to foster a peaceful, prosperous world. They look at them as challenges that need to be quashed, or and faced as a threat, which I think, in my opinion, is a bad thing, because there's room for the world to be more, how can I say, peaceful and collaborative. We don't need one country to control everything, like the deep state in the U.S. wants to do. And the verdict's still out for Donald Trump. He might want to collaborate with these countries, China and Russia, but he might not be able to. He's not powerful enough. Is he really in charge in the U.S.? So what's the country? Well, it's Pakistan, which is, middle of Asia, west of India, borders with the Indian Ocean. Well, it is on the Indian Ocean, and it's a big part of the One Belt, One Road project for China. So we've got all the other pieces of the puzzle coming together. China's relationship with Russia, China's relationship growing with Middle Eastern countries, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Iran, China opening finally their International Energy Exchange in Shanghai on the 26th of March. That's now on the website that they're going to start trading then. Trading oil for yuan, priced in yuan, not dollars. And then, the fact that you also be able to take those yuan if you're from another country selling oil and convert it to gold through the gold exchange in Shanghai for physical gold. So a bit of, the petro yuan, which I've talked about. But a lot of people know that the US dollar hasn't been backed, of course, by anything like gold or silver for many years, since 1971, and that it's now backed by the fact that the US, that most commodities are priced in dollars, especially oil, which is needed for everything, and every country needs to buy oil. But the other thing is that all the U.S. Military bases around the world, that's the other thing that supports the dollar. It allows, the dollar, the U.S. to protect trade done in U.S. dollars throughout the world. But now we're seeing a threat. Well, Americans see it as a threat to China, to their hegemony, I'm sorry, and probably especially the neocons, because, they don't see, they don't look at the world as a peaceful place. They see the world as one person in charge, and that power is the U.S. and the New World Order, or the Anglo-American sphere. And last year I went to this conference at a small private bank in London. I don't have an account there. The only reason I went is I was invited because one of their articles was posted in Zero Hedge, and I commented on it in one of my videos, and I sent the link to one of the guys at this private bank called Clarmond Wealth, and he actually liked the video. He invited me to one of their roundtables. I forgot when it was, late in December last year, or yeah. And I went, and I get emails from them, their updates. They have something called, the postcard, and the place is run by an English guy and another guy who's originally from Pakistan, and so the latest postcard is from Andrew, and I read here. And it's dated Monday, February 26, 2018. And I quote, of course, "Dear Mustafa," that's his business partner at this Clarmond Wealth, "I am back in Karachi, Pakistan. And yesterday in the Sindh Club, where I'm staying, there was a classic car show. It was all slightly surreal, but the timeless atmosphere of the club and the cars allowed me to ponder what events will shape our lives over the coming decades. Electric cars, artificial intelligence, and so on." He said, "These are the usual suspect." But then he goes on to say, "But my guess is that it will be China's one belt, one road. This policy still seems remote in the West, but it feels omnipresent in Pakistan and will have a long-lasting effect on power, politics, and global finance." And he goes on to say, this is the interesting part, and who has gained military foothold in the country since my last visit in October? ? Well, surprise, surprise, Pakistan has agreed to China building a new naval and air base at Jiwani, a village just a few miles up the coast from the port of Gwadar, one of the strategically vital parts of China's One Belt, One Road vision. Pakistan is clearly nailing its colors to the mast of a new Chinese order. And he goes on to say, in the meantime, Trump's USA has cut off military aid to Pakistan, but Pakistan doesn't really care, as they now have an all-weather friend in China. And what will be the key consequences of this shift of allegiances? And he goes on to say, trade and finance, not just the military, will shift over to China's orbit. So I found that really interesting. That I knew about Gwadar, this port. It's supposed to be challenge Dubai, and the Chinese own that port there. They're running that port in Pakistan. But I'd never heard about Jiwani, which is just a few miles down the road from Gwadar, and there's going to be Chinese military presence there. So I wanted to look at some of the headlines relating to China, Pakistan, US, India. And what I found, for example, is this, even today in one of the newspapers in the UK, the Daily Express. I guess it is a bit of a tabloid, But one of the main headlines is this: World War III. Pakistan blasts India for deliberately killing citizens as tensions spike. Well, this is in the this is nowhere near Gwadar or this military base that the Chinese are going to have. It's more towards the Kashmir and disputed border. But there you go. You see Pakistan and India. Things are starting to heat up a little bit. And then the other article, the other thing I wanted to find out is whether this military base thing is credible, and it is, because this guy wouldn't have said that. You know, if he goes to Pakistan regularly, he probably does business there. But there is an article from the diplomat.com, and it's from February 9th this year, and it says a new China military base in Pakistan, ? And it goes on to say reports about Beijing trying to acquire another facility there could have significant consequences for the region. And then I wanted to check headlines about US and China. I just put US space China and Googled, and the top stories are first from the New York Times, and it's 6 hours ago. It says, as Xi tightens his grip on China, US sees conflict ahead. The other one is Xi Jinping extends power and China braces for a new Cold War. New York Times again. So, and you've heard that. And the other one from CNBC, China expresses strong dissatisfaction with U.S. duties on Chinese aluminum foil, or as the English would say, aluminium foil. So, all that going on here. In the first New York Times article, the one about conflict ahead, I looked at it, and it's from yesterday. As Xi tightens his grip on China, U.S. sees conflict ahead. What they don't mention on the headline is as China expands the yuan or challenges the petrodollar. U.S. sees conflict ahead. They use the excuse that Xi is tightening his grip on China. And I'll just read a little bit here from this article before I finish the video. It says, a few weeks after Stephen Bannon left the White House in August, he was invited to a dinner at the Council on Foreign Relations to discuss American policy toward China. Council on Foreign Relations, that's the foreign policy arm of the Anglo-American establishment. It's the American arm of the Royal Institute for International Affairs, or Chatham House in London. Yes, it's the American arm of that group, which organizes the Bilderberg groups as well. So he was invited to dinner on Council for Relations to discuss American policy toward China. With his unbridled China bashing and dark talk of a looming conflict in the Pacific, Mr. Bannon expected to be roughed up by the group, which included China scholars, writers, and veterans from past Republican and Democratic administrations. Mr. Bannon's hosts were hard on him, but not in the way he expected. Rather than faulting him on his former boss, President Trump, for their hostile approach, they pressed him on why Trump had not followed through on his tough talk about trade and North Korea. I walked out of there thinking, something has changed with the elite, he recalled. China's relentless rise and its more recent embrace of repressive tactics that recall the Mao era, a process accelerated by President Xi Jinping's bid to stay in power indefinitely, have fractured a deeply rooted consensus in Washington about the long-term direction of its relationship with Beijing. Well, the part about Xi Jinping's bid to stay in power indefinitely, I think that's to do with something that came out last week, how the Constitution of China was changed, where the president can run as many times as is want for the post, and the West, of course, is saying that he's going to become the new emperor. So you see, they're using things like they're saying that China is becoming more repressive, authoritarian, that the president is going to become an emperor, as an excuse, as a pretext. But in my opinion, the real problem for the Anglo-American establishment is China's challenge to the status of the fiat dollar as the global reserve currency. And Pakistan is right in the middle of that conflict, in my opinion. And if there is a conflict, hopefully there won't be. The war might not just be in the Pacific, it could be in the Indian Ocean as well. So that's how I see things today. Am I saying there's going to be a world war? No, but I think there are things going on behind the scenes, geopolitically, economically, monetarily, that are looking quite, looking like we could have some conflict between the US and China. So that's it for now. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on steemit.com and on Twitter. And make sure, if you like this video, to share it through all your social media platforms. That helps promote my channel. Thanks. Take care.